Hey gardeners, I hope you're all doing well and your gardens are doing awesome. So all right, for today's video, I want to talk about everybody's favorite garden crop, tomatoes. We love growing tomatoes just as much as anybody else, and I've got several varieties already planted out around the garden spaces. So I want to go around and kind of show you some of those different varieties, talk about our tomatoes this year. They didn't get off to the very best start, I'll tell you that right now. We'll get into that in just a little bit here too. Plus, I have 3 tomato plants that I've still yet to plant out into our spaces. They're gonna go into our front alleyway, big giant 45-gallon felt grow pots. Plus, I've got these really cool metal trellises that I got from our friend Wendy Fan back at last year's heirloom exposition. Can't wait to break those out, show you those, and get those tomatoes planted out. We'll do all of that today. So let's get growing. So all right, everyone, last time I left you, we were back here in the back alleyway harvesting up some of our compost out of our alleyway compost bin here. Still got a little bit more to do, but what we did was we transplanted out these squash plants that were growing from some seed, from some food scraps here. And they, squash doesn't like to be transplanted. It doesn't like its roots to be messed with or anything. It's best actually to direct sow some squash, even though I still actually start them off in some pots and everything, but I get them into the ground as soon as they really start growing in order to not disturb any roots, because they will go into some pretty terrible shock. As you can see, most of these leaves and stems are burnt, but look at this. All sorts of new growth right here already starting to go. They're standing up pretty strong. So those roots have already started to set in there. And this plant is gonna start thriving here really soon. And just cut back all of these dead leaves and all of that. And within the next month, these plants are gonna look like superstars. So all right, let's get started looking around at all of our different tomato varieties we've got growing in our garden, starting with this space back here inside of our back alleyway fence where we grow each and every year most of our different tomato varieties along the fence here. We used to grow a little bit further, but as you see here, and I mentioned in our previous video, our new neighbor and owner actually has a couple of really cool dogs. They're young, energetic, so they needed to be contained with the fence there. So we got that put in, and now we've got our tomatoes all planted out. Plus, I just want to let you know too, this whole area is going to transform into something really, really cool throughout this next year. We'll talk more about that in upcoming videos, but let's take a look at these tomato varieties we've got. The first 2 we've got growing here are San Marzanos. We've got a couple of paste varieties. San Marzanos are similar like Romas, paste tomatoes, very delicious. I grow these each and every year to make my tomato sauce with. Other varieties too. We've got Dad's Sunset. This one I got from Baker Creek Heirloom Seed Company a couple seasons ago, and it's just really, really delicious. And hopefully the plant's gonna get going. It's been in only just a few days. Everything's looking good. We've got them mulched nicely with our leaves here. And then next down the line, we've got a Cherokee Purple. People love Cherokee Purple. It's a really great heirloom variety, as well as Black Crim. This is another dark tomato. So these 2 are dark tomatoes, purple tomatoes, Cherokee Purple. And then this one here is a Black Crim. And Black Crim is a Ukrainian dark tomato. I really, really liked this tomato variety, so we grew that one again this year, as well as up under here, we've got a variety called Big Red Chief. So Big Red Chief, I found a couple of seasons ago, did really well in our summer heat. So this is a variety I've got placed in a couple of spots around the garden so that we make sure we've got some good tomatoes, even if we have a very terribly hot summer, which it really seems like we're in store for too, because we've already had an amazingly hot season so far. Winter was warmer than we've ever seen it here in Southern Oregon, and we've still got 3-4 weeks ago until summer, and we're already seeing almost 90-degree temperatures here, so it's going to be a warm one. Now, what do we got here? A few of you have been asking. Well, I've got this. It is called Celeriac. I got a few of these plants from a friend and neighbor and viewer of the channel, and they gave me a few of these plants last season. I let them grow. I didn't do too much with them, kind of just really ignored them for quite a while, and then this year they're putting out seed stalks. So I thought what I would do is I'd let them go to seed, maybe collect some of this seed when it finally forms up here probably pretty soon, and then maybe try growing some more of this for this next season. So this will be gone here probably in just another week or so, and definitely give a lot more room for that tomato we've got growing down there. So, all right, one of the other varieties of tomato I love to grow each and every year is the Prax cherry tomato. It was developed by one of my favorite old school YouTube gardeners, Ray Browning from Praxis 55712. I was lucky enough to get some seeds many years ago, and I started growing them in this space right here along our back patio. We've got this nice little strip of in-ground space, and I've grown those Prax cherry tomatoes here for several years. And what I do is I just let them grow, let them drop some fruit, and then I get new volunteers of the Prax cherry tomato the very next season. And I've done that season after season. But this year, with permission from the new owner, I kind of renovated this space just a little bit. We used to have a rose bush right there, and we also used to have another rose bush right here, and another just kind of, I don't even know what it was. It had a bunch of thorns on it. It was just a really bothersome bush to have. So we were able to pull all of those out. I got this set up here actually. This is a bunch of rocks. It goes almost about a half-foot deep of rocks there for a drain. And I'm going to set up along our roof line here as we start thinking about getting back onto our carport roof with some more of our 5-gallon wicking buckets, and maybe setting up our pepper garden again. So there's more to look forward to in upcoming videos as well. But I want to set up a gutter so that we can drain water down, and then we'll have it right here so it doesn't overflood our garden space. And yes, we got our Prax cherry tomatoes. We've got new plants that I've planted out here. I think we got 6 of them, as well as we do have some volunteers. Looks like we got a few volunteers of some cucumbers here that are popping up as well. I'll let those grow out, as well as getting in here and weeding these out. Oh, yikes. So our next tomatoes that we have here are growing in these 2-foot by 2-foot elevated raised beds that I have built out several years ago. And they may look like they're falling apart, but they're doing really well. We're growing a couple of different varieties of tomatoes here. This one here, I've got a Galileo, it's called. This was from viewer Adam Burley. He's local to me here. He gave me some of these seeds, and I think they came from gardener Scott as well too, another good friend of ours here on the channel. And so I'm really excited about seeing this variety growing right up our trellises here. We got these wooden trellises that'll hold them in really well. But as you see also too, we've got this other volunteer tomato. I'm not even sure what this tomato is going to be, but it's a volunteer. So again, you know, volunteers, we get all sorts of them throughout our gardens here. It's so hard to just pull them out sometimes when they look so good. So we might just try to transplant that into another space as well, so we can give that Galileo plenty of room to grow up that trellis and get a good root system. And then over here in this one here, I've got a variety called Orange Kentucky. I grew this a few years ago. I really liked it, so I brought it back for the garden this year. Orange Kentucky, and it's growing in here. And when I planted this out, actually just, I don't know, maybe a week and a half ago, these were actually a lot smaller. This is red Russian kale, and these are volunteers as well. And I'll just tell you here, this red Russian kale I grew maybe 3-4 years ago, even maybe even longer. I'm not even sure, about 4 years ago at least. I grew this red Russian kale and I let it go to seed, and the seeds spread everywhere. And I've been getting this red Russian kale popping up as volunteers each and every year since that one seed drop. I haven't let it go to seed at all in any other year. So with one seed drop, we continue to get more and more each and every year. It just surprises me how much more of this we continue to get. In fact, right over out of our big deep bed over there, we've got another little volunteer that popped up that I'm gonna have to pull out and maybe find another space for it. But I do really like the red Russian kale. I wanna let it sit here, but again, I don't want it to shade this out too much. So hopefully this tomato will get up here and start getting up above all of these kales so it can reach for that light and grow up our trellises. And these wooden trellises, I'll do a video here coming up real soon. We're gonna build some more of these for those tomatoes on the back fence line. These are really awesome, really great, because these wire things that you can get, they don't work well at all for tomatoes. They're called tomato cages, but I use these for all sorts of other plants other than tomatoes, mostly actually peppers, but they work better for other things than tomatoes. You want something strong and sturdy, like these tower wooden trellises here for tomatoes. And of course, one more look. I showed you these in our previous video, but these are our orange hat micro-dwarf tomatoes growing in these, I would say these are probably 2-3 gallon pots or buckets. And yeah, they're all growing nicely, coming up really good. So yeah, these will fill this out, give us lots of little, just scrumptious little yellow orange cherry tomatoes, and we should get plenty of those right out of these, out of our hanging baskets. One of the other projects that I've been working on was this little mini greenhouse. I built this out many years ago and ended up just basically using it for a storage space the last couple of seasons, as the plastic on it was just really bad and ripped and wasn't looking good and wasn't very functional. So now I got new cover over the top of it, and we've got it working in this nice new space here. And as you can see, we've got lots and lots of more varieties of tomatoes here. In fact, these tomatoes were not looking very good just a couple of weeks ago. Now, I got so busy. Now, as I was telling you, we've been working on all these projects. I've been busy doing a lot of stuff that it gets hard to kind of fit in some of the things that you have to get done, even though you have to get other things done as well, too. And one of the things that kind of suffered was our tomato starts. We had them in those 72 cell trays like this one over here, and I had them in there just a bit too long. I was letting those roots bind up just a bit much, and the plant started stressing out over that. And then eventually I was able to transplant them again about a week and a half ago. And that's one of the things that's really great about tomatoes, is that tomatoes can take the abuse. They really can. They can take the abuse, and they will continue to grow and strive despite what you do to them. So look at these plants. They're all looking really great now, whereas a week ago they were just looking terrible. And these are pretty much the extras that I've got that we will eventually plant out over in my friend Mike's garden that we have in his front yard micro farm. So we're gonna move a lot of these varieties over there. And then I've got these three here that I mentioned earlier. and they're just bursting out of here. They're just climbing up out of this little mini greenhouse. So they're ready to get planted. So we're gonna take these over into the front alleyway. I'll tell you what they are, and we'll plant them out. Oh, almost forgot. We do have these 2 containers here that are back here next to our garlic and a bunch of our spring flowers that are dying back right now. I got to get this all cleaned up. But we've got a super sweet cherry and a gold nugget cherry. So we got lots of cherry tomatoes growing around the gardens this year. So, all right, now before we get to planting out these tomatoes, I mentioned to you I got these trellises from our friend Wendy Fan from wendyland.com. She gave these to me at the last heirloom exposition. So they've been waiting for our tomato season. They are Forever Garden beds, Forever Garden plant cages. And if you're interested in any of these, I'll put a link down below in the description for you so that you can get some of these if you want some too. But yeah, let's put these things together and then we'll put them into our, when you can't even see them. Look at all these calendula we've got here growing right now. Really, really amazing flowers that we grew. What was it, a couple of seasons ago? We were in the Johnny Appleseed competition. I grew these as edible flowers, part of our edible flower mix. And I grew them over here and they dropped seed that first year from 1 plant. And I've been getting them in just mass amounts the last couple of seasons, as you can see. And they just self-sow like crazy. And I'm sure anybody who's grown calendula knows this. And look at all these little starts. Look at all these that we got to pull out. Yeah, so not all weeds are weeds and not all plants aren't weeds either, because sometimes the ones that we really like and are really nice are actually weeds too. Wow, oh my. I completely forgot about how tall these trellises were. I saw them all assembled at the heirloom exposition, but completely forgot about how tall they were. But they are big, they are amazing, and anybody who grows indeterminate tomatoes knows that your tomato plants will grow this tall, maybe even taller. So these are gonna work great in our containers back here to hold in these great tomato varieties we have. all right, quick note on the tomato varieties that we're going to plant out in these big 45-gallon felt pots. They are varieties that I chose from a local nursery. We've got a pineapple variety. In the middle here, we've got a sun gold. And then on the end here, we've got one called Mortgage Lifter. And I've heard a lot about Mortgage Lifter. It's been recommended many times to me. I've never tried it before, but because I did such a terrible job on all of my other tomato starts, I wanted to ensure that I had a few good, well-grown varieties already. And again, you could tell these ones are just been growing and doing well, probably from some greenhouse that they came from, and should do really, really well in these spots. Now, real quick on planting them, with most tomatoes, every time you plant these, I even do this with my tomato starts, the ones that you saw in those little red cups. We took them out of the 72 cell tray, put them in the red cups. These were probably in containers already when I bought them, about the size of those cups. And then I transplanted them into these larger containers. But when I did the same thing I'm going to do when I plant them into these big pots. I'm going to take off all of these bottom leaves here, or stems, just like so. And then I'm going to leave the top of the plant and I'm going to bury it deeper into this pot. And again, they will create root nodes out of the side of the stems here, or the stalk, and create new roots. Now you may notice all those little hairs on there. Those are not what actually creates the roots. They will form little white nodes. As you can see, there's probably a few of them getting ready to start right here up the stem, and that'll create new roots. But yeah, just want to keep burying them deep each time we put them in, and that'll help them get a bigger and larger, healthier root system and get them to thrive as they grow right up those new trellises we've got. What's going on, George? What are you doing, buddy? You come over here to help us plant some tomatoes? All right, there we go. Awesome, awesome trellises all assembled. They're pretty solid too, you know, metal. It's a hard plastic though, but very solid. So I think those should hold up those tomatoes really, really well as they get to fill out these trellises. So all right, gardeners, there we go. We've got all of our tomatoes, or most of our tomatoes anyways, planted out around all of our different garden spaces. We do have several of those other varieties that I have in that little greenhouse that we've got to get planted out over at our friend Mike's micro farm. We'll get that done later this week, and we'll show you all of that here real soon in a video too. I know I've got to catch you up over there as well. But yeah, everything's growing along great. I love these tomato cages too. So definitely keep following along with us here on the Urban Gardener so you can see how well all of these tomatoes do and how they fill up these tomato cages throughout the season. And now on our next video, I'm going to talk about peppers. I've got tons of peppers that need to go out into the garden spaces too. And pretty much a very similar story about them. We'll catch up on the next video. But if you are here with us right now, before the video ends, definitely hit that thumbs up, click the like button, hit the subscribe button as well too if you haven't subscribed yet. Follow along with all of our garden adventures here on the Urban Gardener, and I'll see all of you on our next video. Ooh, man, I'm telling you, it is bright out here. Oh, whoop. Airplanes now. Hi. Been from some seeds, from some blah, 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 blah. Oh my. So one of the other wait, let me start moving. Containing and holding back our peppers. Our peppers? We're not talking about peppers today. Yikes. Something wrong with that one. All of our garden adventures, and I'll see you. I was almost done. I was that close to being done too. Oh.